Everyone keeps saying that Pokemon's 30th anniversary is going to crash the market just like after the 25th. But the anniversary isn't what actually crashed the market in 2021. Rather, it was a multitude of factors that created a perfect storm leading to a Pokemon market crash. But there was definitely one factor that was more responsible for the fall than anything: more printing. Now here we are in 2026 and we are slated to get a brand new print facility opening late 2028, which begs the question: are we going to see history repeat itself, or is this time different? Well, in today's video, we're going to answer that question. We're going to be looking at the facts that we have today, and we're going to be taking a data-driven approach to model supply and demand to see what could possibly happen to the Pokemon market after this new print facility comes online. And then we're going to talk about how we should think about investing going forward with the information that we can gain based off the model that we build. Guys, I want to start off this video saying that this might be one of the most important videos that I make on this channel going forward for the next few years. Please, please, please watch this to the end. There's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of data, and I understand that it can get a little bit monotonous, but this is the kind of information that is going to separate you from other investors in this market and is going to make sure that you understand what's actually possibly going to happen, so that way you can make proper decisions moving forward and you know what you are getting into before you start putting your money into the Pokemon market. Let's start right here, guys, with this historical chart that I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen floating around Reddit. This chart shows the ginormous spike in Pokemon prices from the beginning of Pokemon, essentially, up to the bubble pop of 2021. Now, there's one thing that this chart doesn't show, and that is why the bubble popped. And the reason that the bubble popped is really a couple of reasons. We had a big shortage of supply and a huge outbreak of demand thanks to the big Logan Paul pandemic boom, as it's called on this chart. But the problem is that people thought that this shortage was permanent, but it wasn't, because in 2021, of March of 2021, Pokemon market, Pokemon Company was printing 3.7 billion cards. The very next year, March 2022, they increased their printing numbers to 9.1 billion. That is a 145% increase in print. As soon as that hit the market and supply started skyrocketing, people realized that, hey, this is no longer scalpable. Hey, the scarcity in these products coming out today is no longer there. And Pokemon prices started to fall, and people started to sell like crazy. Demand fell, and it became a scarcity death loop, and it was a race to the bottom. That is what happened in 2021. That is what caused this market to crash in 2021. There are definitely some similarities today to 2021. But the big question mark and the thing we don't know is how much of an increase are we going to get in print? Well, let's try to answer that question the best that we possibly can with our model. Here is what we know. Here are the facts. We have a current printing space, a current manufacturing space of 1.6 million square feet. Now, Millennium Printing, which is the printing company that the Pokemon company acquired, got a Spark campus, is what it's called. It's going to be the facility. And they're going to be adding, between a renovation space and a brand new construction facility, another 1.27 million square feet of manufacturing space, which is a 79.4 increase in space. Now, guys, this is where we got to get nuanced. This is where things are going to get a little bit deeper in this video. If you made it this far already, you're ahead of the game. But guys, going forward from this point in the video, this is where things get really important. Not all this printing floor, not all 1.27 million square feet are going to be allocated to printing. Millennium has specifically called this out as manufacturing, assembly, and warehouse space. Okay? So what does that mean? That means that we can't say, oh, we're going to get a 79% increase in printing. Rather, that means that we need to put a throughput realization factor into this increase in space to try to derive how much of an increase we might see in this new facility, essentially. But before we do that, we need to talk about supply and demand today. Where is supply? Well, let's just make supply the constant and put this at 100, easy round number. And demand, while we have definitely got more demand, I'm going to say that it's not 2 times or even 50% more. I'm going to put demand at 120, aka 20% more demand than we have supply. Okay? Now, why do I say 120? Specialty sets are selling out and they're flying off the shelves like crazy. But we have sets like Perfect Order, Chaos Rising, Pitch Black, main sets that aren't moving. People don't really want them. So can we really say that demand is 2 times as much or even 1.5 times as much? I don't think so. So I think demand at 120 is a fair, reasonable amount. Okay, now we got to talk about a couple of other things to do with demand. Demand doesn't just stay constant at 120, it grows. We've seen this ever since the beginning of Pokemon, and Pokemon is the biggest IP in the world, and I think that we are very likely to continue seeing the Pokemon demand and the Pokemon hobby grow. More families are getting into the hobby. More generations of kids are becoming adults and they start to get adult money and they want to go and buy things that they remember from their childhood. More adults that are way past being a child are rediscovering the hobby because of things like social media with influencers coming on, like Logan Paul, for example, pumping up the Pokemon hobby. And when they get back into it, the nostalgia that's there for them keeps them around. On top of that, we have rip and ship culture. There's a lot of things going on right now that are causing the market to grow and that I think are going to keep the demand for Pokemon growing over the next coming years. And I think that there's going to be 3 possible scenarios that I want to run on this model. And we can honestly plug in different scenarios later on if we feel like it in future videos. But as for right now, I'm going to do a model of a 5% demand growth, which is in my opinion a low estimate. Then I'm going to give my base case, or what I personally expect, which is an 8% annual demand growth. And then we're going to do what I really think is very unlikely, and that is an aggressive 10% demand growth moving forward. But let's start with our low case. So let's pop in 5. And now this possible outlier year is because of the 30th this year. This is our outlier year. Anniversary sets have time and time again brought in more people into the hobby than any other set. And it makes a big influx of people join the hobby. And the 30th will definitely do that. This set is insane. The amount of people it's going to bring in, we are already seeing it bringing in, is crazy. So we have to take that into account. And this possible outlier year that we're going to see here, I'm going to put in 10%, saying that, yeah, I think we're going to see at least a 10% demand growth this year because of the 30th anniversary. Now, let's talk about this throughput realization one more time and see what that actually is going to do for actual print growth. Now, because they're saying it's assembly space and warehouse space on top of printing facility, I think that a 65% throughput realization is very reasonable and very realistic. Essentially saying that 65% of this facility will be allocated to actual printing floor. I think that's a very realistic expectation. Obviously, this is just my best guess, but I think it's a good place to start. When we do that, we can see that we are going to possibly see a 51.6% increase of Pokemon printing come through. But that's not all going to come at once, okay? Back in 2021 to 2022, that 145% increase happened like that over the course of a year. Things are a little different this time. Let's talk about it. We're sitting here in 2026. Supply and demand is extremely constrained, and the Spark campus renovation has begun, and the construction portion of the brand new facility has also begun. Come 2027, we are going to start to see that the renovation portion of the Spark campus should finish, but the new construction isn't finished at this point still. It is going to continue, and hiring will continue, and a lot of the stuff for the renovation will start to come online probably middle, late end of 2027. Therefore, I think supply will increase by 5%, putting us at a 1.26 supply to demand ratio because demand is also growing off of the 30th, leaving the market still constrained. But then 2028 comes around and incremental price or print increases are going to occur, but by late 2028, full capacity of the Spark campus will come online and we will see a supply increase of 35% due to new printing, leaving our supply at a 142 and our demand at 139, putting the market slightly, very slightly, into oversupplied territory, just below a 1.0 ratio. Basically balanced. But that is a big move down from a 1.26 supply and demand ratio. 2029, the last improvements in hiring, I think, are going to final out, and we are going to see that last trickle of 6% increase in printing occur, bringing us up to a supply number of 150, which is that 50% supply increase that we've talked about up here from our throughput realization. And while demand has grown, it is still underpaced the increase of supply, but it's still leaving our market at a fairly balanced 1.97, slightly oversupplied amount. Then by 2030 and 2031, supply stops increasing and demand continues growing. And it continues to rebalance the market, putting us just slightly over a 1. Now, this is my low case, okay? Do I think this is possible? Yeah, I actually think this is fairly possible. I would say I would put a 35 to 40% chance of this model being correct. But I want to show you where my money is, what I actually think is going to happen. And that is simply saying that demand is going to be 8% growth annualized rather than 5. Now let's go take a look at what's happened. I'm not going to go through the whole thing again with you, but now you can see where we had our big supply increase happen in 2028. It's even more balanced, okay? But the big difference is that by 2030, as we're ramping up for the 35th anniversary, we start to see constraint come back into the market at a 1.1 supply to demand ratio. And by 2031, we're nearly back to where we are today. If I were to put a couple of more decimal places on this, you could see that this is actually under a 1.2, but just barely, which is why it's not marking extremely constrained, okay? Now, for the thing I think is least likely would be a 10% aggressive growth year over year over year, which would be basically saying that, hey, it's going to continue doing this outlier growth here forward. If that happens, we would still see balance occur in the market in 2028 and 2029. But by 2031, the market would become even more constrained than it is right now. Okay, so that's the model. But I am going to leave it, at least my guess, and I'm going to leave this model in my spreadsheet right now at my guess. This is what I'm going to be basing my opinions on going forward, is a balanced market in 2028, then slightly becoming constrained again by 2030 into 2031. But now we need to talk about how this is going to affect investments, how this is going to impact certain sets and certain sealed products, because that is what we talk about on this channel. And I think that going forward, this element, this conversation that we're having is going to have a very big impact, at least to me, in how I choose things to invest in. And why is right now the time that I'm choosing to make this video? Well, because of this. Let's move over. You see that big purple line that I have added right above pitch black? That big purple line is going to represent something. That is the 2-year mark from when, the print facility is coming online late 2028, okay? Pokémon prints things in 2-year blocks. If we go basically July 2028 and go 2 years back from that point, that is what this line represents. Why is that important? That is important because everything after this purple line from this point forward that I add to my spreadsheet, all the sets after that are going to be in rotation, aka very likely, highly likely to get reprints during this brand new print facility era. If you've made it this far in the video, this is where things get good. This is where things start to click, I think, for a lot of you in your head of what I'm about to go down and I'm about to talk about. And this is where we need to have a big conversation about investments and things to invest in moving forward, and things that we should be more excited about putting money in rather than things that we should be less excited about putting money in. Things after this purple line, are very likely to get hit with reprints from that new print facility. Everything prior, all these sets behind this purple line, a lot less likely. You can never say zero because the Pokemon Company can do whatever it wants. It could, in theory, come back and say, you know what? I like Twilight Masquerade. Print it. Print it. I mean, by that point, Twilight Masquerade came out in 2024. And by 2028, are they really going to print it? Probably not. But could they decide to? Yeah, they can do whatever they want, frankly. So the people saying that, oh, they can't come back and print it. Yeah, they can. They can do whatever they want, to be 100% with you. But is it likely? No, it's not likely. Because they're going to have new sets that they need to think about. And then there's going to be some of the older sets that have high demand, like, well, what's the first set after this purple line? For America, it's the 30th. Then Delta Rain. I think there's a good chance that we could even see this new print facility print some of those sets, and especially the renovation part of this facility that's going to start coming online in 2027. So what does that mean for my investment thesis? What does that mean for things that I'm going to be putting my money into? It means that I am eyeballing everything before that purple line a lot more. And things after that purple line, a lot less. And what else does it mean? It means that I'm expecting a market slowdown in some regard in 2028 and 2029. It does, okay? But how do you insulate yourself from that? You insulate yourself from that by buying things in these time blocks after or before the purple line. And why does that work? Well, it will work because right now people aren't thinking about the print facility probably as much as they should be. People are still just in the mindset of that it's time to just buy whatever Pokemon product that you possibly can because it just goes up. Once this facility starts to become closer and closer and more people start talking about it like this, that's when the panic's going to hit. That's when people are going to realize that, hey, I'm going to be holding product that could get hit by new print facilities, and people could start dropping products. 30th, Delta Rain. Those are going to be some products that could definitely be hit. Do I think those ones we should be super wary of and should not put money into? I'm not saying that. Those are still going to be great sets. It's just that we're going to want to make sure that we get into them at the right numbers, that we are talking about this added factor of the new print facility when we're having discussions about these future sets that are going to come out. I'm not saying that everything going forward in Mega Evolution era is uninvestable. I don't think that at all. I think there is still going to be great investment opportunities even through Mega Evolution era, but we need to consider this risk of this print facility when we're talking about those things. And that's what we're going to do on this channel. We're going to talk about that, and I'm definitely going to be figuring a way out to discount premium on future sets after Pitch Black because I think it's important to do so. I think it'd be unwise to not do so, and I think it would be throwing caution to the wind to not do so. And instead, I'm going to be definitely giving more attention to everything pre-purple line, essentially, and really looking at them. I mean, guys, if you want to have an example of what print does, look at what's happening to Destined Rivals right now with this information of the reprint occurring for the ETBs. It has been dropping like a rock. ETBs used to be over $200, and they are down under $140 right now. They have had a ginormous collapse in price. And if you don't think that's possibly going to happen for other sets in the future that people think are not possible to have a reprint occur because they haven't thought this far into the future yet, I think that's just going to be a mistake. I do. But guys, this is why I think a lot of you guys watch this channel. That's why I think so many of you guys have enjoyed this content so far, is because we do take a factual, data-driven approach when looking at these things. And I'm sorry that the tone of this video maybe feels a little bit more serious and a little less, engaging or whatever than some of my other videos have been, because this is pretty serious. And I want to really drive home that this is serious because this is one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot lately. And I think that it's going to be extremely important. I just want to make sure that you guys, as my viewers, as the people that support me, support this channel, are thinking about this now, because it is important to at least have an idea, or at least have this floating around in your mind a little bit while you're making decisions today, because this is going to have impacts on this market. And I think that if we're not thinking about what those impacts could look like today, you could be making decisions today that have a negative outcome in the future because of lack of forethought. And that's what this is all supposed to be helping with, some forethought. Okay, guys. It's the end of the video. let's be a little bit more fun now, okay? If you made it this far, you're a real one. You guys know who you are. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. I just want to hurry and also say thank you guys so much for sticking around this long. I know it's a little bit of a serious video. I know there's a lot of numbers, a lot of even maybe rambling. I don't know if I'm going to call it rambling, but this is important stuff. I really wanted to bring it to you guys, and the ones that have made it this far, you guys are the real supporters, and you guys are the ones that I really want to make sure are aware of this kind of stuff, because it's important. It is. I know it might not be as fun as talking about like, oh, let's go buy these things today because they're great buys, but this is important, guys, and I really want to talk about it, and I really want to make sure that my viewers, my subscribers here on the channel are prepped for what is to come. And the good news is that when that time comes in 2028 and 2029, where we could possibly see the market come back into balance again, it's going to be buy time. Because as we can see, after that balance comes, we move back to constraint. We do. So we're going to have a buyer's market, and we're going to have another seller's market. That's the beautiful part about this. Sure, is it a little bit spooky to think about what 2028 and 2029 could bring? I guess it depends on how long you're thinking about investing in Pokemon for. For me, I have a 5+ year outlook on this stuff, so I'm not really that worried. But I do want to make sure that I'm thinking about it, because I don't want to make bad decisions, because we want to think about what we can do with our money today to be able to keep enjoying this hobby in the future. Because a bad move, or a lot of bad moves right now, could put you in a spot tomorrow that might make you less able to enjoy the hobby, less able to go buy the sets that you want in the future when they do come on sale during down parts of the market. Okay? Yeah, guys, that's just where my head's at right now. Yeah, I think so. Oh, giveaway. I almost forgot. I literally was going to plug this at the beginning of the video, but you know what? This is better this way. You guys that are the real ones that make it this far through these videos, you deserve to be the ones that know about the giveaway stuff and how to get into it. Let's make this one kind of weird. I'll tell you what. Okay, to get your entry for the 1,000 subscriber giveaway, which by the way, it's looking like it's going to be Destin Rivals ETB based on the video I posted before and what everyone was saying to like do for a giveaway. It seems like the majority of the comments are Destin Rivals ETBs, so it's probably going to be that, but I want to give it a little bit more time to see if there's, some more suggestions for what it should be. But to get your giveaway entry on this video, and let's make it a little bit, shadier, a little bit harder to figure out, so that way people don't just like come into the comments section and just start repeating. Use in your comments somewhere, purple line. Put that somewhere in your comments, and you are going to get an entry for the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. And it will be under the radar, so maybe there'll be a few less of you, but the real ones are getting these extra entries today because you made it this far into what I think is the most important video I've ever made so far. And yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, and leave that purple line comment, because you might as well be part of the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. Guys, thank you so much for sticking around. Sorry for a little bit doomy tone, but guys, future's still bright. There's still great opportunities out there. This doesn't mean that I'm not excited. I am still excited. There's so much stuff going on. How could I not be excited? There's going to be a lot of great opportunities out there, and I'm going to be here to cover it for you guys. So it's all going to be good. Don't worry too much. Just make sure we're smart about it. Make sure that we're thinking ahead, and we'll be all good. See you in the next one, guys. Peace.